Ooh.
You left this, Senator.
This is why if I had $40,000, that would be so great. So great.
Yeah, just hold this.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Okay, God is so faithful. God is so faithful. Okay, the former VP and so many others warned us about what Trump would do, and he has done it all. Y'all know what he hasn't done, though? Hasn't lowered the price of eggs. It's Trump's 86th day back in the office. Yes, I'm counting, because someone has to keep track, and eggs are still so expensive. Folks even have to swap out for Easter egg hunt for Easter potato hunts. It tastes good, right? Some hash browns. Little Timmy is out there finding spuds in the yard. But hey, the silver liner is after the hunt, you can whip up some potato salad instead of egg salad. And please, for our lighter hue folks in the audience, no raisins in the potato salad, because we've already had enough. You know, all this economic chaos makes me think I should have paid more attention in grad school econ. But in my defense, no syllabus prepares you for the timeline where even Jesus is like, all right, y'all. All right, I guess I really got to come back, because y'all clearly need my help. But here's the twist. Even Jesus might need to drop that $5 million on those Trump gold cards just to get citizenship. At this point, the second coming might get delayed because he's too busy setting up a GoFundMe. As expected, Trump hit us with the Uno reverse card again. Some folks are calling it a market manipulation. Trump calls it the art of the deal. It's the art of the deal. But let's not get it twisted. The man is still a convicted felon, and I will never forgive y'all that voted for him for giving him the nuclear codes and a second term. Now, word on the street is that there is some shady insider trading going on when the market tanked last week. A few members of y'all's Congress suddenly made some very timely stock moves. How convenient, right? Meanwhile, Martha Stewart, y'all remember her, Snoop Dogg's homegirl, she actually went to prison for that. Like orange jumpsuit, orange is the new black, metal bunk beds, eating ramen with a spork. Who has sporks? Jail has sporks. And now Congress is out here doing it in designer suits and getting re-elected. Please make it make sense, America, because it doesn't. But the craziest part, y'all, is Trump hopped on Truth Social right in the middle of the mess, posting, "Now is a great time to buy. It's time to buy. Everybody should buy." And now Senator Adam Schiff is calling for an insider trading probe over the conveniently timed tariff pause. And honestly, I don't blame him at this point. Where are the whistleblowers? At this point, somebody got to blow the whistle. Blow the whistle. Dun, dun. What's my favorite word? Don't say it. Don't say it. Public access television, y'all. We gotta keep it G. But let's talk about group chats. Not the series on TikTok, which is really good, by the way, if you had a chance to check that out, but an actual real life group chat. Have you ever added an op accidentally to a group chat? Yeah, nah, me neither. But a few weeks ago, high-ranking officials in the Trump administration accidentally, y'all, dropped classified plans in a Signal group chat. And they somehow added Jeffrey Goldberg, which is the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic. Yeah, because nothing says secure comms like mixing up the nuclear codes with your fantasy football league. Now with this latest fiasco, the Trump team dusted off their favorite playbook, how to handle self-inflicted chaos in 5 easy steps. Let's start with step 1, act confused, which Trump, y'all know Trump doesn't need any help with that. After a meeting with business leaders, Trump said, "I don't know anything about it. I don't know, not me." Classic, right? Step 2, deny, deny, deny. Deny involvement and defend the ride or die crew. He tossed it to his national security advisor, Michael Watts, like, talk to him, I just work here, which we know he just works there because Elon is what? The president. Step 3, blame the media. Trump even claimed Jeffrey Goldberg hacked the chat, called him, how can you hack a chat? How does that work? A total sleaze bag, and labeled the whole thing a liberal witch hunt because, of course he did. Step 4, fire somebody. And we're not quite there yet, but give it some time, give it some time. Somebody's definitely getting fired in my Beyonce voice, but probably by tweet. Last and final step that they have down packed is blame the minorities. Deny it all again, and then y'all know the cycle. We've seen it before in January 6th, COVID, courtrooms. Trump's mastered the art of saying that wasn't me better than Shaggy. Even when it's literally been on camera. Through all of this, Trump's loyal base stays true to him. It's definitely giving a code at this point. It's gotta be worse than the Church of Scientology, and even they had Tom Cruise. But y'all get my point though, in all seriousness. Free thinking against Trump is not allowed. And what better way to stop free thinking than to go straight for the source? Our universities. Because if there's one thing dictatorship hates, it's critical thinking and tenured professors with receipts. Y'all's president, not mine, just froze billions of dollars in funding to some of the most prestigious universities in the country. Shout out to Harvard, Princeton, Columbia, Cornell, UPenn, where Trump allegedly went, and even my beloved alma mater of Western University. Go Wildcats or not, depends if we can still afford the mascot costume. But y'all do remember those college commercials, right? What's the one? You're sitting on the couch watching TV, not doing anything with your life. Oral at Everest. See, that's the type of college education that Trump wants us to have. As long as you're not smart enough to question him. Because thinking for yourself, that's a luxury in Trump's America. And if you step out of line, he won't just take your funding. He'll snatch your whole FAFSA like it's a classified document at Mar-a-Lago. That was a good one, yeah. But while he's out here punishing schools for teaching people how to think, his tariffs are punishing the economy for existing. Markets are tanking, Congress is infighting, and even billionaire donors, the same folks who helped build the golden calf statue at CPAC, they're suddenly realizing that maybe, just maybe, following a cult leader isn't the best for capitalism. Even billionaire investor Mill Ackman called for a 90-day pause on the implementation of tariffs, saying that they are a mistake. Now y'all know, if a billionaire is saying this is a mistake, we know it must be a problem. And even 4 Republican senators, including Mitch, y'all remember Mitch McConnell, the one that froze on stage? And Rand Paul actually defied Trump by voting with Democrats on a resolution to reverse those 25% tariffs on Canadian goods. Yeah, it turns out even some Republicans were like, hey, maybe economic self-sabotage isn't our brand after all. But the 2 senators from Kentucky voted against the tariffs. Why? Anybody know why? Because Kentucky bourbon was on the list. Wow. Look, you mess with healthcare, voting rights, democracy, cool. But you touch the bourbon, seriously, it must be a bipartisan emergency at this point. But thankfully, shout out to the EU, the European Union pulled Kentucky bourbon and California wine off their retaliation list. So great news for diplomacy, and terrible news for my liver, as if I needed another reason to drink. Sorry, Mom. Speaking of which, let's talk about something I probably couldn't have done sober. Well, maybe in college. Sorry, Mom, again. And y'all know I love to talk. I love to yap. But what happened that I'm about to... Who said uh-huh? That's disrespectful. That's disrespectful, Justin. A level of nonstop yapping that I couldn't even compete with. That's right. Senator Cory Booker took the floor for over 25 hours straight. That's something to clap for. finally showing though that Democrats do in fact have a vertebrae. He was standing up to Trump, thanks Ricky, and his policies, and not just metaphorically. The man literally trained for his speech. He said he fasted and he stopped drinking Fluence in the days leading up to it. I mean, even Daniel might have tapped out, the guy that survived the lion's den. See, I thought y'all would laugh at a Christian joke. I have to insert that. Sorry about that. Booker powered through with just a couple glasses of water and some backup from his fellow Democrats who asked questions so he could finally catch his breath. Honestly, the teamwork was chef kiss. It was beautiful. Like a relay race, but make it C-SPAN. Now, some folks are asking, what's the point of Cory Booker doing all this? Is this just for show? Well, it proved one thing, that Democrats don't have to sit on their hands. They actually, quite literally, can stand and speak and sweat through a suit for the people. It's called creative protest, AKA known as doing something. Senator Cory Booker broke a 68-year-old Senate record previously held by other than Representative Thurmond, a proud segregationist and Southern Democrat who filibustered the Civil Rights Acts of 1957 for 24 straight hours. Yes, a white man literally stood and talked for 24 hours just to black folks from registering to vote. That's not civic engagement, y'all. That's a gym level stamina powered by pure racism. Thank you so much. Thank you. Now, the Civil Rights Act of 1957 was meant to protect black voters under the 15th Amendment. And Ostrom was like, not on my watch, in my Ayanla Van Zandt voice. But a wise man once said, if your right to vote didn't mean anything, there wouldn't be many people trying to take it away. So let that marinate, and while we're at it, somebody please tell Rachel Dolezal that does not include her. Y'all remember her, white girl with the braids? She was probably watching Booker's speech like, yes, King, we did it. No, Rachel, we did not. We got a great show for you. Let's clap for that. We have Stacey Davis Gates. And a good friend of mine, Corporate Aaron. Are y'all ready for the show? Yeah. We'll be right back after this.
As lawmakers across America target LGBTQ+ rights, Chicago stands at a crossroads. Join us for a special 1-hour live edition of Chicago Newsroom 2.0, which brings together the voices that refuse to be silenced during this pivotal moment. Guest host Darius Hillman facilitates a frank conversation about what's really happening in our communities. Hear from Chicago's dedicated advocates who share their firsthand experiences and insights on how recent policies are affecting real lives and what Chicagoans need to know right now. Tune into Chicago Newsroom 2.0 Thursday, April 17th at 7 p.m. on cable channel 19, or stream on cantv.org or on the CanTV Plus app. Hyper-local news and critical analysis. Experience the power of community television.
Next time on The Audit.
Felt like a movement at the time. Certainly today, we know that was a moment, right? It was not a movement at all.
As a Black woman leader, we were asked to carry the water on all of it.
But when you started talking about moving money into Black and brown owned spaces, the backlash started to begin.
The big pushback.
Welcome back to Munson tonight. Let's clap for everybody that's here. Band, we still have no name? Band, no name? We got to work on that for the next season. Season 3, band gets a name. 3 years. 3 years. 3 years. I love that for us. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight's guest is a powerhouse in public education. She's a fierce advocate for equity and the kind of leader who's not afraid to shake the table. She's the president of Chicago Teachers Union, a mother, a fighter, and a voice for justice in classrooms and communities across this country. Please give a warm welcome to the one and the only Stacey Davis Gates. How are you?
A little fatigued, but
Okay.
I'm really proud of the work that our union did in coalition with families and community groups across the city to land a very transformative collective bargaining agreement. It was ratified with 97% support, with the turnout of our members of over 85%. As you know, we're the largest local union in the city, and it was a significant amount of engagement, communication, not to mention all the negotiations.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. I know we're going to get into that a bit, but I want to take a moment to thank you for one, being here. Of course, she has a lot going on, y'all. Just being a Black woman representing teachers in Chicago and teachers across the nation, quite frankly. But I want to thank you for opening yourself to being a woman advocate for young leaders like myself. I usually take the time to tell people where I met the guests, but I really just want to thank you because in this space, there are not a lot of Black women that present a helping hand to me. There are a lot of older elected official men that may be weird and creepy, but outside of that, they aren't all weird and creepy, but the ones that are not, they tend to come off as like uncles and brothers, but it's not that many women that say, hey, whatever you need, I'm here. And I just want to take a real moment to thank you for that before we get started.
And you're welcome. That is what we're supposed to do. Toni Morrison said that our work is to make sure that we bring other people with us. That's our work. Whatever your job is, your work is justice, your work is solidarity.
I appreciate that, and I'm going to pay it for it. I'm a millennial, so what's that, Gen X that's after us? Oh, Z. Wow, that's crazy. Whew. Still early 30s here, let's stay there. But just want to thank you for that. Okay, the purpose for my show, as you know, is civic engagement, right? Yes. It's to talk about what is an elected official, what are these things to help people not only be educated, but get involved at their own level. So I want to start first with talking about, as president of the CTU, Chicago Teachers Union, what is your role?
That is a great question. I think the role of the president of the Chicago Teachers Union has grown exponentially. It's grown especially under the leadership of my mentor, Karen Lewis. We obviously represent the teachers, the paraprofessionals, the clinicians, retired members of the Chicago Teachers Union, all of the people who work in the Chicago public schools. Since Karen's leadership, we have taken a very bold and unapologetic stance to also represent the children and the families that we serve in those school communities. And what that has meant is that our bargaining becomes for the common good. So in 2016, we took Dyett High School, a Southside Washington Park high school that had been closed in 2015 by Rahm Emanuel. Hunger strikers, Jeanette Taylor, who's an alderwoman now, G2 Brown, who is a member of the Board of Education, an elected member of that board, and Brandon Johnson, who's the mayor of Chicago. Those three people, along with some of our members, parents, families, went on a hunger strike for 34 days to keep that school open. Then we took that school and 19 others to the negotiating table to secure more resources, both financial and human. Today, Dyett High School has a state championship boys basketball team.
Oh, wow.
They have an artist in residence, and that's because we've worked together to secure that future of opportunity. And that's one of the things common good bargaining does for our city.
Yeah, that's so awesome. So I was doing a little research, so correct me here if I'm wrong, okay? 1937, CTU starts.
Yes.
Okay. 1966, that's when you get the rights to collective bargaining.
Yes.
Bargain, right? Okay, I got
Yes,
it right. Okay. So basically, throughout and again, correct me if I'm wrong here, but we get teachers from a variety of unions that want to come together and advocate for the rights of teachers and things. And so they're doing that. They come together. 1966, they get the right to advocate in a collective bargaining way for those rights, for classroom sizes. I was reading there were some teachers, especially black women, that felt like they weren't getting treated fairly, class sizes, wages, and all the things. And then we get to 2021, where the Republicans tried to restrict CTU and say, hey, y'all shouldn't be bargaining for things outside the classroom or things that don't directly affect the classroom. And then
1995.
1995.
So
okay.
in 1995, our bargaining rights were marginalized.
Okay.
The only thing that we could legally bargain were wages, benefits.
Got it.
Everything else was subject to the whims of the district saying that they wanted to talk to us about it.
Got it.
In
Got it.
2021, we won those rights back.
Got it. Okay. I was close.
Yeah,
I was close in there. Okay.
I see you.
follow
I see
me?
you. Yeah.
Right. And then shortly after that, Democrats removed that so you guys can fight and do advocate for things outside the classroom, thus the agreement we have.
The agreement we have now is the first agreement that we've had without going on strike in the
15
last
years, right?
In the last 15 years.
Okay.
That is right. And it is because of those strikes that we won our bargaining rights back.
Got it.
And it's because of those fights that we now have an elected school board. And it's because of those fights that this contract was able to land with such profound benefits for all of the stakeholders.
Yeah, and I want to get into those benefits in a second because there's a lot here that I saw. I was really astonished, but I like having hard conversations with people that keep it real and that know what they're doing. So that you keep it real and you know what you're doing, and I admire that in all sincerity. So some folks say that CTU is a champion of teachers in public education, right? While some say it serves as its own power institution, not the needs of teachers and students. And I bring that up to talk about public opinion, right? We're talking about some of the work that CTU has done and all the things that they will do. But what do you say to those people that are saying that CTU really doesn't fight on behalf of teachers, it's more political? Like, what would be your rebuttal to that?
Well, education has always been political.
Yeah.
That's what I would say. I'm a high school history teacher. So if we're going to talk about public education, we have to talk about the enslaved Africans who revolted on the plantations. Number one, to change the direction of the Civil War.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the first thing. So when our ancestors left those plantations, what they did was turn the tide in the war, and then they went to fight with the Northern Army. The war ends. The North is the victor. They are trying to rejoin America. But in the meantime, you have enslaved Africans who are asking for enfranchisement, who are seeking a public education, who need a public health system. The Reconstruction era is where we actually get the public education system at the behest of Black people, the formerly enslaved Africans. So this idea that public education has not ever been political is ahistorical.
Yeah.
That's the first thing. The second thing is anytime you can go into state codes and find literacy laws limiting the ability of Black people to even read and write, education is political. So this idea that we have been detached from that is ahistorical, and it is also, I think, a send-off. It's a send-off because what it does is that it dulls your senses to 50 schools closing in 2013. That too was political. The mayor of Chicago did that. So how could it not be political?
Oh, I was listening. I was like, I'm learning history. Okay, that's good stuff. And I think I'm learning in my work, nowhere I haven't touched anywhere as what you have done thus far, but just looking at public opinion and seeing how you could be doing one thing, advocating, and then there's always a different narrative. And not that you're perfect, I'm perfect, anybody's perfect, but to have the heart to really fight for our children. And you were a teacher. Like, I don't, when I talk to people about you and all you do, they talk about the contracts and what you represent, but I don't think a lot of people look at the background of the why of what you do. So can you, before we get into some of the benefits of this contract, talk about how you started off and how did you get here now? Like, what made you want to do what you're doing now? Is it because you were a teacher, you have children? Like, how did that play out?
That's a great question. Public opinion in the moment is never on the side of transformative leadership. If we go back to 1968, the year Dr. King was assassinated, he was one of the most unpopular leaders in our nation, right? His popularity increased with the push of Coretta to make sure that he was remembered as the transformative American patriot that he was. So our understanding of how leaders become legendary, how leaders become revered, how people appreciate even the work of leaders is often misunderstood. When Karen Lewis was leading our union, she wasn't popular to the editorial pages and to the elite of this city. So I often caution people to think in the macro about what public opinion means in the moment. And I'm a teacher. I'm a high school history teacher whose school got closed on the south side of Chicago. In 2005, Arnie Duncan came to Inglewood Tech Prep High School, and he told us that we were failing our students. And that's where I was radicalized, because it didn't make sense to me. It didn't make sense that people had failed. It made sense to me that systems had failed. And it also made sense to me that the union that I belonged to had a voice and had some agency in those decisions too. And so it was a group of us, we got together and we said that schools are closing across the city. The common thread through all of it was Black children, right? And the clip at which they were closing, you've never seen such pain than to like go through rounds and rounds of school closings, and that's what 2013 was. You saw Black families begging for their school to be spared from the closings list. It was one of the most degrading and dehumanizing experiences that we've ever had as a city. That said, the next day Karen Lewis gets up and she says that in order to restore the joy to teaching and learning, we have got to change the political landscape in this city where it's acceptable now to close schools. Well, in 2025, it isn't acceptable to close schools anymore. In fact, 5 schools this year were slated for closure and they won't be closed. And so she did change the political landscape, and she changed it through organizing. She changed it through listening and being in coalition with the community. And so here we are today.
I love that. I love how you highlighted organizing and coalition building, because I fear that some of our communities have strayed away from that. And whether it's because of personal needs, work, life is real. But I know growing up, there was this census that, you know, the grandmother on the block is taking care of everybody, or there was more of family. Even in church, I feel like don't get me started on my soapbox about church, but I am grateful for all that you do and highlighting organizing and how that still plays a real big part in what you're doing and what we do as a people.
Well, I think organizing is going to be the thing in this moment that anchors and saves us.
Yeah.
Look, we have DOGE, right? The Department of Government Efficiency, being ran illegally by Elon Musk. They're shutting down Social Security regional offices. The Department of Education is being dismantled as we understand it. They're going to privatize. They're going to cut services.
Yep.
They're going to cut. They're going to close. They're going to consolidate. We've survived that in Chicago, in particular with the Chicago public schools. Paul Vallis, Arnie Duncan, Rahm Emanuel, they've already given us the DOGE playbook. And what we can show in Chicago through our movement work is the organizing is what helps you, making sure that the right people are at the table, that those who lead have to be the ones closest to the pain, and that everyone gets an opportunity to do hard work. And quite frankly, the moments in which we are experiencing here in Chicago right now reflect that work. And so I would say that Chicago should really and truly be a blueprint, if you will, to how America gets to survive the fascism that is that's engulfing all of our spaces.
That's good stuff, Stacey. Let's talk the recent contracts.
Sure.
So, you know, you got the Carfax. I got some of the facts, okay? According to the terms, the 4-year tentative is 4 years, right?
Yes.
Okay. A 4% raise in year one.
Yes.
4 to 5% increases for the remaining of the 3 years. Increased pay for veteran educators. I won't read all of this. New class size limits, more sustainable schools, more elementary school teacher prep time, which is important. Doubling the CPS budget for sports. But there are a few things I also want to highlight, though. $10 million in gender equitable sports investment. My school, when I was growing up, only had a basketball team, and they don't think I played basketball, but I did. Racial equity and teacher evaluation, small class sizes, and more. All of these things, you can talk about some other things that are in this contract. But what do you want folks to know most about this deal?
This deal marks a turn, a transformation, and opportunity for our children, and not the cutting, the closing, and the consolidation. Our children deserve an entire school day that centers them and their needs. So much of our school day relates to a test score. So much of our school day relates to rigor and accountability. And sometimes I have to ask people in charge, what do you remember about your schooling experience? Do you remember prom, or do you remember the SAT, or do you remember the state standardized test? And how do you rank those experiences? And so what I would say is that you have a lot of rigor, you have a lot of accountability, you have a lot of testing. How about we get a lot of sports, a lot of band, a lot of drama, a lot of choir, to give young people an opportunity to both enjoy the experience of practicing and perfecting and performing. That draws in the community, it brings in their families, it provides a richer, more dimensional experience. So a part of the work of this contract was to anchor the school day that provides our students with what they deserve. And what they deserve is opportunity. What they deserve is music and art and physical education classes that don't have 40 kids in them, especially on the high school level. So we work to bring class size down. We talk about young families leaving the city for the suburbs because of the public education opportunities. But if you lower class size, especially in kindergarten, our kindergartners next year will walk into classrooms with 23 students, a teacher and a teacher's assistant.
What does it look like now?
It looks like maybe 30.
Okay.
It looks like 31 or 32, and a teacher's assistant there. Our 2019 contract gave us the ability to bring in extra supports in classrooms that were oversized. The contract in 2025 brings the class size down and continues to offer that extra support.
Wow.
So that's an expansion of a benefit, especially for families.
Got it. That's some good stuff. Question for you.
Yes.
So we talk about money all the time. Chicago, federal government, I feel like we owe the Decepticons. I just feel like, who do we owe? Who do we really owe, y'all? It's just so much money. But when we talk about paying for this.
Actually, we don't owe anything.
Okay.
We have receipts that have not been paid. In fact, they are marked past due. So if we really want to have a discussion about money, the discussion isn't about how are you going to pay for this contract. The discussion is going to be, how are you going to make up for the generations of Black children in the city that did not receive the funding that they were deserving of? And that's the discussion that we're going to continue to have at the Chicago Teachers Union. The state of Illinois has a funding formula that I think is one of the best in the nation, because it prioritizes the types of things that work. Smaller class sizes, making sure you have a social worker, making sure that you can provide supports for our most vulnerable students. That's a part of that funding formula. The difficulty with that is that it needs revenue, and we're not getting enough revenue into it. Another difficulty in the state of Illinois is that we keep acting like billionaires and teachers should be paying the same rate of taxes. Right? We keep acting like we're okay with philanthropy even if the bills are still past due. So I would submit that the way forward is to present a taxation space, a progressive taxation space that honors the contributions of all earners in Illinois.
So to your point, I'm gonna play devil's advocate a little bit.
Sure.
To the point about, you know, we don't owe, folks have not paid. I agree.
Yes.
But what do you say when people talk about Chicago being in a deficit, right? Pensions, healthcare, all the things. Like, is the argument we should solely focus on education, or is it that we should be funding just everything across the board that has not been funded?
Well, I would say I hate that the dichotomy of this or that.
Got it.
Right? I would say that first. I like the word and.
Got it.
Right? It's additive. It includes more. It brings more in. But I would say this. I would say that we have to get out of this idea that we have to choose old people or young people,
Gotcha.
that we have to choose education or retirement security. We have to choose to create an Illinois that honors its citizens, especially its children, especially its poor, especially its seniors. And if we can do that, then we can figure out how to pay for it. And I don't think that that is a dilemma or a hard dilemma to deal with. We know that in the state of Minnesota that they have progressive taxation. So they are putting far more into their public education system than we are. We know that in Michigan, they are also making sure that they prioritize how they spend money on education. And the threat right now, quite frankly, is that we know that Trump has his eyes set on Chicago and the state of Illinois because we live our values. And because of that, he's going to threaten us just like he threatened Harvard, just like he threatened Princeton. What our governor is going to have to do in this moment is be clear about a Trump rainy day fund. Because you know he's coming our way.
For sure.
So if he comes our way, how do we withstand that? How do we build a force field, not just around our schools or our city or our state, but around everything that is connected to us? How is Chicago in a deficit and it is the center of commerce in the Midwest? I still don't understand the argument.
Yeah. Yeah. I got stunned for a second. That was great. Thinking about Harvard, though, right? We talk about they were able to not basically buy into what President Trump was saying, but they have so much money. How do you think, this is not what, we prepare, but how do you think Illinois will prepare for that if we're already in a deficit?
Well, how is it that we have Boeing in the state of Illinois? How is it that we have John Deere in the state of Illinois? How is it that we are, again, the center of commerce in the middle of this country, the third largest city? We have an economy that is global. The math ain't mathing.
Math's not mathing. I agree. So CTU has done this contract. Y'all worked hard. Shout out to you all, the teachers, the mothers, the fathers. Let's clap for them for getting this contract. So your re-election to be president of CTU is May 16th. So our article, because I put my journalism hat on, right? You're facing competition, but you said you're looking forward to the election. I don't know if I talk to people that are looking forward to the election. Can you talk about what you're looking forward to specifically about this election?
I think Chicago Teachers Union has a democracy that is the envy of the world.
Okay.
Just this contract fight, let me give you an example of that. 65 rank and file members, people who work in school communities, bargained this contract. They recommended this contract then to our executive board, which has over 40 members. And then our highest governing body that has nearly 900 members, they are the people who then send it to our membership if they believe it should go to our membership. And that contract went to our membership. 85% of those people participated and 97% of them said yes. I think democracy is the most beautiful thing that you can participate in because you know if you got it right and you know if you got it wrong because of the level of participation. So I look forward to talking to people who love children in this city about what we can do as leaders of our union to increase and expand justice.
That's good stuff. I want to tell you one thing before we head out. Thank you for your leadership, your perseverance as a woman, and then as a Black woman, and all that you do. I'm not sure how much credit you get for just fighting and being who you are without the labels and everything. So I want to thank you as somebody that's a little teeny bit younger, and just want to thank you for being you. Let's clap for Stacey. Thank you so much for coming. We'll be right back after this.
CAN TV is the lens through which Chicago's stories are told, harnessing the unifying power of community television. With CAN TV On Demand, immerse yourself in the richness of our city through exclusive stories and programs tailored just for you, connecting you to the heartbeats of our streets, the voices of our people, and the spirit that makes Chicago unique. Discover the strength of your community on CAN TV On Demand.
As lawmakers across America target LGBTQ+ rights, Chicago stands at a crossroads. Join us for a special 1-hour live edition of Chicago Newsroom 2.0, which brings together the voices that refuse to be silenced during this pivotal moment. Guest host Darius Hillman facilitates a frank conversation about what's really happening in our communities. Hear from Chicago's dedicated advocates who share their firsthand experiences and insights on how recent policies are affecting real lives and what Chicagoans need to know right now. Tune into Chicago Newsroom 2.0 Thursday, April 17th at 7 p.m. on cable channel 19, or stream on cantv.org or on the CAN TV Plus app. Hyper-local news and critical analysis. Experience the power of community television.
For more than 40 years, CAN TV has been Chicago's voice, your voice. We've shared your stories, amplified your concerns, and celebrated your triumphs. Now we want to hear from you. What programs matter most? What issues should we cover? How can we better serve your community? Visit cantv.org/feedback today. CAN TV. Experience the power of community television.
Welcome back to Munson Tonight this evening. Let's clap for yourselves. Our next guest is the award-winning powerhouse behind the managerial logistics of management at McManagement, a top key performer whose spreadsheets have spreadsheets. The reigning defending manager of the year. She's here to tell us about herself and to also give us a performance review for this season of Munson Tonight. Let's give it up for the one, the only, Corporate Erin.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me here. It's kind of an honor. I'm very happy. For those of you who don't know who I am Corporate Erin, the manager for the managerial logistics for Management McManagement. And kind of the purposes for today, I know this is kind of like an interview structure here, but if we can kind of dial it back a little, Saka, because we do kind of have you kind of on a performance kind of improvement plan to kind of say,
is that a PIP?
Yeah,
I'm on a PIP.
Yeah, this has been on a PIP ever since kind of day one.
Say PIP for me one more time.
PIP. Yeah. You're on a PIP. So, great job. I know this is going to kind of double as a meeting and kind of as an interview. I kind of have this on my calendar as a meeting and an interview. So if you may have questions, you can throw it back to me. Sure. I'll throw it back to you. Yep. I can throw it over to them, as long as I get pinged.
Yeah. Got it. So let's start with you.
Okay.
You told the folks about who you are and you're manager of the year. Can we talk about how you got started and why it makes sense for you to be here to kind of give a review of Munson Tonight this season?
Okay, yeah, absolutely, sure. So we have a pivotal partner in common, Lisa Beasley.
Right.
Okay, so she's kind of a creator in Chicago, kind of making big waves, huge splashes. And so originally, I was just kind of minding my own business, kind of being the manager for the managerial logistics for Management McManagement, where I've kind of been the manager for the managerial logistics for Management McManagement for 14 years. And so at the end of 2023, Lisa pinged me and she said, I'm just kind of stressed. I feel like social media is kind of taking on a life of its own. And I really need some help. And I said, I got you. I see you. I hear you. I have your back. So I decided to take over her social media for her, and I've kind of been noodling there ever since, kind of making sure that all of her following kind of stays in contact with her, and that's kind of how we initially, you got on my radar from there because you were on Lisa's Cal, and I said, Lise, what's this? Who's Ashley? Why am I not there? What's going on? Kind of put me in the loop. And so she kind of filled me in, put me in the loop, and so I immediately put you on a pick because you didn't call me first, you called Lise first, and that's fine, it's okay, but I mean, I just thought.
I'm sorry. I know better for next season. Well, I know I saw you on the news. You were talking about all the things that you're doing, and how's life going now? You're excited for what's next?
Well, you know, it's been amazing ever since I took over social media for Lise. I've just been everywhere. I've been just about at every news station in Chicago. I've been in a couple of regional outlets across the nation. I won a Webby Award. That's where I got my award for the year. And it's just been kind of awesome to kind of balance the responsibilities of family, newfound celebrity, and then also still making sure that I'm staying on top of my work and my deliverables, and making sure that you are also staying on top of your work and your deliverables.
I love how you, like, just, you know, you not make fun, you highlight some of the intricacies of corporate and the meetings and the time and the schedule.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, let's talk about, so with all your experience and, you know, how you got started, can we talk about the show? Yeah, I want to know your opinion. How do we do this? Were you here for the earlier interview? I know I left my mic in the back. That was my fault.
Awesome. Yeah, Stace was awesome. Stace, you're amazing. The information that you give, the ability to kind of cascade this information kind of onto the landscape of Chicago is very critically important. So I will say across the board there, you have glowing numbers. The stakeholders and kind of everybody, the higher ups, we're all really kind of happy to see everything that you're doing there. So I really kind of appreciate kind of just say, hi, this is some plain speak here to kind of get people who may not be actively engaged kind of at the civic kind of structure to kind of bring them over here so we can kind of be engaged over here. So I think you're doing an amazing job of maybe kind of tapping into people who probably wouldn't kind of tap into civic engagement to kind of say, hi, watch Ashley tap in over here. And so you're doing an amazing job of that.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So we had Mayor Johnson this season. That was great. How many of you that were there for that? That was good.
So you've had a lot of pivotal guests, a lot of pivotal partners. Some of these people I have tried to reach out to, and they have not talked to me. But once again, we're not here for me.
No,
we're here
I'll
for
make
you.
sure you get on his calendar.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
thank you.
I got you.
Thank you. Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll CC you all on those calls.
Yeah, we'll make sure.
Yeah. So also you have the band. They don't, even though they don't have a name, good job for the band. Great job, great job. I look forward to having one-on-one engagements with all of you. I only have 5 a.m. open though.
Speaking of the band, do you have a name for the band since you're here? Just want to get your thoughts.
Well, the corporate band. Yeah.
The corporate band. And you know my chief of staff, Justin, right?
Yeah.
So looking forward to the future and all that you got going on. One, share what you have going on and how we can stay privy to what's happening and what you're doing. And then share some suggestions you have for the show.
Sure. Well, as for me, you know, I ran here, so after the show, I'm going to run back home. And then I'll get on my computer, kind of open up some spreadsheets and make sure I kind of noodle around in there. And then after that, I'm going to make sure I do have some midnight kind of emails to kind of sift through, but you're not asking me about my workday. I think you're just saying generally kind of midnight what do I have going on this quarter.
Wow.
So for this quarter, along with kind of the work with the pivotal work that I'm doing with Lise, I do kind of still make sure that I stay on top of her. So I will be with her on May 5th at Laugh Factory in Chicago at 8 p.m. I'll be hosting a meeting. She'll be doing a comedy show, but I'll be there to make sure that she gets that comedy show delivered to the audience. Okay, so that's kind of some things that I've been up to. Also kind of working on some kind of one-off projects with Lise while trying to maintain my job and my life with my family.
That's awesome. So you said May 5th at the Laugh Factory.
May 5th at the Laugh Factory. I'm there every first Monday of the month, but this May 5th is actually a teacher's appreciation show. So
Stacey, what you were just talking about teachers.
I gotta put it on Stacey's cal. If you're a CPS teacher, you get in for free. because if you're a CPS teacher, you don't make as much as I do. So you'll still have to procure the ticket, but I will kind of provide you kind of with that. I won't give you the money out of my pocket, but there will kind of be a ticket code for you to kind of put in the portal. For those of you who are familiar with the ticket portals, you'll have to kind of like input that code into the portal to kind of claim the free ticket that you procured.
Can you make sure you send me those materials so I can get it out to the audience and team?
Yeah.
Awesome. And before we head out, we got a few minutes left, maybe 2 minutes left.
Okay.
Any suggestions for next season, people you would like to see or?
Absolutely, more meetings. I would like to see more meetings kind of happening right here. I know there's a team that kind of puts this together. I would like to kind of see kind of what that process is, and maybe if you can have more one-on-ones with kind of corporate professionals, and maybe if you can kind of get the audience involved, maybe they can bring their laptops and work on their projects, and we can all kind of co-work and kind of co-collaborate together. Also, I mean, if you can add me to season 3, I like to be here all the time.
Okay. So add you to season 3, May 5th, The Laugh Factory. Anything else you have for us? Any tips as we head out? This is the season finale of season 2. So.
Oh, this is the season. Okay, should I tell people now that Lisa Beasley is missing and I can't find her?
Yeah, you should. We got a few minutes left.
Any eyes on Lise? Which camera do I look at? I can't find Lise. We went kind of like together on kind of like this trip. She took me to Afrotech. I haven't seen her in months. So if anybody knows where Lisa, this one right here, this is an emboldened plea. If anyone has seen Lisa Beasley, please contact me, Corporate Erin, at www.corporateerin.com, and I will make sure that I kind of get this email from you. I'll put some time on your calendar. You'll put some time on my calendar. But if you have eyes on Lisa, I'm looking for Lisa Beasley. She hasn't called me back. She hasn't emailed me back. There are people looking for her. So,
well, thank you for reminding us what our colleagues sound like. Some of our colleagues sound like this, the meetings and things. But I want to thank you, Erin, for being here. We'll make sure to have you on season 3. And tell Lisa when you find her, we said hello.
Absolutely.
Let's clap for Erin.
Thank y'all. Thank y'all. Thank y'all.
And we will be right back after this.
Next time on the audit.
Felt like a movement at the time. Certainly today, we know that was a moment, right? It was not a movement at all.
As a Black woman leader, we were asked to carry the water on all of it.
But when you started talking about moving money into Black and Brown owned spaces, the backlash started to begin.
The big pushback.
As lawmakers across America target LGBTQ+ rights, Chicago stands at a crossroads. Join us for a special 1-hour live edition of Chicago Newsroom 2.0, which brings together the voices that refuse to be silenced during this pivotal moment. Guest host Darius Hillman facilitates a frank conversation about what's really happening in our communities. Hear from Chicago's dedicated advocates who share their firsthand experiences and insights on how recent policies are affecting real lives and what Chicagoans need to know right now. Tune into Chicago Newsroom 2.0 Thursday, April 17th at 7 p.m. on Cable Channel 19, or stream on cantv.org or on the Can TV Plus app. Hyper-local news and critical analysis. Experience the power of community television.
Can TV is the lens through which Chicago's stories are told, harnessing the unifying power of community television. With Can TV On Demand, immerse yourself in the richness of our city through exclusive stories and programs tailored just for you, connecting you to the heartbeats of our streets, the voices of our people, and the spirit that makes Chicago unique. Discover the strength of your community on Can TV On Demand.
Hey, I wasn't ready for that entrance. It's a wrap on season 2 of Munson tonight. Let's clap for that. make that my signature. I love that. This season, we've laughed, we've learned, we've left mics in the back, but we've leaned in, all the way in. But as we close out tonight, I want to leave you with this because I have my mic. Your voice matters, not just in the comment section, not just at the dinner table, but in the ballot box, at City Hall, on school boards, and in every room where decisions are made. Civics isn't just something you study, it's something you live. And for the next 4 years, that won't be easy. There'll be a fight for truth, Truth Social, for justice, for the future we all deserve. So speak up. Stand tall, like Cory Booker. Stay informed, and remember, silence has never saved a soul, but your voice just might change everything. Thank you for riding with us all season long, and we're just getting started. Take care, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and as always, stay bold, stay loud, stay in the fight, make this monologue a little bit longer. Thank you to my Chief of Staff. Let's clap for Justin. Quick question for you, Justin. When Stacey was talking about choir and things, did you have a choir program in school?
Yeah, I think I was doing my program at the same time you were playing basketball.
Oh, wow. Okay. This is not the script, but I'm going to show y'all pictures of me playing basketball.
And I will show y'all pictures of me in the choir.
Because the joke is that Justin, I got 1 minute left, Justin can sing or direct, but we don't know that yet. We'll have proof, maybe, maybe not. Let's also clap for the No Name Band. So grateful for you all. I know Rob is somewhere preaching the gospel. He's our pianist, but want to shout out to those who are here. You guys look so great in your black. And I want to take a moment to acknowledge every in-studio audience member. Let's clap for yourselves. My family and friends, and take a moment to shout out to my mother who has not missed one show. Every special guest, every viewer, the glam team, because, okay, hair and makeup, Travi, love you. The CAN TV staff that made all of this possible. Let's take a moment and acknowledge all of them. I just want to thank everybody for tuning in last season and this season. Remember, politics only matters because you do. I'm Ashley Munson. This is Munson Tonight, where politics makes sense, and we'll see you next season. Thank you for being here.